ॐ तिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमः विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। शुद्ध भक्ति चिंतामणि। So Laulyam has been described very nicely. So yesterday we saw that real greed is essential for spontaneous practice. Lobha. Greed is the intense natural desire for devotees for the service mood of the Brajvasis. Haribol, Glosha Prabhupada, मैं तो ठीक हूं, तो जल्दी बोल, मैं क्लास दे रहा हूं। जय कृष्ण भगवान के आशीर्वाद। ओके, कौन कौन सा शब्द है? Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada. Oh, okay. Here we go again. So we were talking about the greed. Greed is the intense natural desire of devotees for the service mood of the Brijvasis. I want to reflect something on this service. Service is not a mental process, because we are not yogis, we are devotees. So as long as our limbs are working, our senses are intensified and applied only in service of Lord Shri Krishna, that what is meaning of service. And more service to be rendered, and even though if it is not physically possible, but mentally it will be possible, right? But service must be rendered. We have five senses, because sevanam mukhe jihvadau. Adau means beginning from the tongue. We have to utilize all the five senses. Krishna does not shun off one sense, and that is hearing. Others may be reduced and you may not be able to increase, but Shravanam is very important, and that will be lasting long. It is the strongest sense that even in unconscious state, the service through Shravanam should continue. And so even in the form of, persons who are unable, but if they have developed the greed of hearing, they will be able to hear all the glorification. So when a person is dying, don't cry, because that will be an obstacle. Rather, it's important that we must become more intensified in the service through the hearing. So keep on chanting, keep on reading Bhagavad Gita as it is, etc., in an intensified way. I was inspired to speak on Bhagavad Gita for 13 days after, my father left the body. And I had such an enthusiasm that even the Mayavadi and the followers of Satya Sai Baba, they would come to listen Bhagavad Gita. Not only that, the next year also it so happened that one of the doctors passed away, and his wife came to me and said, "Oh, please, can you do Bhagavad Gita courses again?" Okay, so there is always remaining an enthusiasm, but it intensified more during the event of somebody passing. Always remain so much enthusiastic to serve the transcendental sound vibrations of Bhagavad Gita. So greed may have varying degree of intensity. Broadly speaking, it is of two types. One is the very intense eagerness possessed by devotees at the stage of ecstatic devotion. Devotees whose love has already awakened jatarati. This type of greed is known as the complete eagerness, samatkantha, greed. Then there is another, the less intense greed possessed by the devotee at the stage of practice in which love has not yet awakened, that is ajatarati. So, if we are inspired, what it means that we should also remain that much enthusiastic towards recepting the love aspect, always to be maintained. It is for the love that you are becoming greedy. So like that. So Ajatrati is at the best strong eagerness, something like Prabhupada calls it an ambition, and which can be gradually developed. Ajatrati is also to be developed very gradually. That is in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 1625th page. So, and both the kinds of greed share a common characteristic, and they are permanent. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions a third, less intelligent kind of greed, less significant kind of greed, one that is temporary. This is also explained in Chaitanya Sikshastram, chapter 10. As a practicing devotee advances, so does his or her eagerness, and the time that eagerness becomes insatiable greed. Remain always eager to listen, to see who is doing that kind of spontaneous devotional service amongst your, association. So it becomes like competition. We will hear there will be always competition between Radha and Krishna, and for intensifying the greed of performing loving devotional service. Who does more? Only Radha wins. So that is the nature. So, because the symptom of such desires are short-lived, the temporary eagerness, it appears briefly in some devotees when they hear the qualities of Krishna's eternal associates. Because the symptom of such desire are short-lived, temporary greed is considered of little or no consequence. Only the enduring greed, be it immature or mature, can one practice spontaneous devotional service. Greed is there. Suppose if it is immature because we are simply looking into the Brijavasi's spirit of service, the greed is developed. Whether it is immature, but keep on doing it will become mature. Temporary greed does not arise by associating with a Brijvasi. The consequences of attempts to cultivate spontaneous devotional service in the absence of steadiness of the greed and the real greed have been recorded in the history. And a sad story it is. Then the consequences are worst. By Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time, the practice of devotional service had fallen into disrepute in the eyes of the intelligent section of Indian society. The unscrupulous men and women had been practicing debauchery in the name of Raganuga Bhakti and had taught that devotion could be cultivated through sexual indulgence. And I gave the example of Haveli, and we have also intensified bad experience, an intense bad experience, that creates disrepute to the movement. So, such imitators made no distinction between activities in perfection, sadhya, or those in practice, sadhana. By acting out the pure spiritual activity of liberated souls with their gross material bodies, these fools hope to invoke spontaneous devotion. Instead, because they were committing offenses to Krishna and his eternal associates, they succeed only in invoking the wrath of the goddess of devotion and her representatives. Means nobody will, you know, encourage him to further. Okay, don't mind. No pardon. Bhaktivinoda Thakur and his divinely inspired son, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, fought against such misconduct. Their vigorous preaching and prolific writings reinstated pure devotion to the rightful place and the topmost spiritual practices. Without hiding or prohibiting the practice of Raganuga Bhakti, they cautioned sincere devotees about the risk of taking up the practice prematurely. Indeed, many of Bhaktivinoda's work Srila Prabhupada wanted translated, described, and praised spontaneous practice. Srila Prabhupada was cautious about the improper practice. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, according to the BBT translator, told that the author of Srila Prabhupada, and the author means Shivram Maharaj personally, that Srila Prabhupada had instructed him, I want all of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books translated into English, because they are on the very steady emotion, is ecstatic, and the steady greed is there. Described in chapter 24 of this book in the section much disrepute was given in ISKCON by the controversy of Gopi Bhava Club, and that we would like to understand later on. That will be in chapter number 24. Not now, we are in only chapter number 11, right? 11, yes, part 1. So, Smriti Puranadi Pancharatriki within Vina Ekantiki Harir Bhakti Utpatayat Kalpadet. Devotional service of the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literatures like Upanishads, Puranas, and the Narada Pancharatra is simply an unnecessary disturbance in the society. This is in Brahmayamal. We learned. Okay. Then we also learned that if we are following inhabitants of Raja, sadhakas mistakenly imitate them. Imitation is not good. For instance, devotees sometimes argue that gopis deceived their family members to meet Krishna so that they may deceive other devotees, even their gurus, to further their rasika bhakti. That's how they live under this pretense, and they leave ISKCON and join other mathas or what we call Babaji. So, needless to say, these devotees lack the spontaneous love of Brajavasis, a love so pure that it transforms lying into an act of pure devotion. Instead, imitators lose sight of the distinction between truth and untruth and their lives transform into the servants of Kali Chelas. Na ke tilak galayar wala. And Prabhupada is talking about them in Marina Day Ray, Los Angeles, on 13th July 74. Bhaktivinoda Thakur coined this ungracious term to denote those who dress as Vaishnavas and make a show of bhajan while engaging in illicit sex. In truth, respect for scriptures, moral conduct, and dishonesty or honesty are all symptoms of the genuine greed-inspired devotion. They cannot be sacrificed at the altar of someone's imaginary spontaneous practice. This is the conclusion of both the scriptures and of the spontaneous devotees of the higher order. Now, we need to further deliberation on greed. How does genuine greed arise? As shown in the last section, greed is not easy to come by. It may take millions of lifetimes to awaken it. It cannot be invoked artificially. When genuine greed does arise, however, it does so from the effect of hearing and the transcendental sound, praising the sweetness of the Brajvasis, love, beauty, qualities, and pastimes. Such narrations are found first and foremost in Srimad Bhagavatam, and they are also found in the books written by realized devotees. This is in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, first canto, second chapter, 292nd verse. They are also found in the books of realized devotees. Vaishnava acharyas, including Srila Prabhupada, add that seeing and serving Krishna's beautiful deity form has a similar effect of awakening greed. See, our attraction to our own deities. This is also in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 16, page 128. What is common symptom of genuine greed is both devotees whose love is still dormant and in those whom the love has already awakened. It is complete distaste for anything not related to Krishna. Sincere devotees anxious to hear constantly about Krishna quickly become indifferent to the allurement of sense gratification and liberation. This is because the bliss of remembering Krishna and his associates is so powerful that subdues all non-devotional attachments. In the words of Srila Prabhupada, the pure devotee of the Lord enjoys the life by constantly remembering the lotus feet of the Lord and by hearing Krishna Katha. For such devotees, there is no such thing as material existence, and the much advertised bliss of Brahmananda is like a fig for the devotees who are in the midst of the transcendental ocean of bliss. This is spoken in Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 5th chapter, 13th verse. Perfect. This is not superlative expression, but this is the highest practical experience that one may have if they follow the instructions perfectly about the greed. Readers who understand the essence of this statement will not be misled by the semblance of greed, whether in themselves or in others. So, so strong is the taste for pure devotion in devotees with real eagerness for Ragatmika Bhakti that it admits no room for attachment to anything else. Devotees in the asakti stage, where the greed is coming. So prior to that, rati and nishtha, they don't consider that to be important even. They act totally in a liberated state, but devotees are in mood of greediness of the love of Godhead. So they leave behind any understanding or experiencing their liberation as well as attraction. They are into the asakti stage. So asakti means a little or more, but it can be unlimited greed if unlimited love of Godhead, the understanding of the power and other things will be appearing. Oh, this is the level of greed that it will be also understood to be spontaneously developed because there is intense desire and the greed is there. It will develop. That is the strong taste of pure devotion in the devotees with real eagerness for ragatika bhakti. And it admits no room for attachment for anything else. Still, the intensity of greed of who's practicing pure devotional is different from the intensity of those who have attained mature love of God. Still, it is distinct in the maturity of loving God. The former have some inclination to the mode of goodness, which awakens their greed, whereas the latter is completely free from material influence, which makes their greed aggressive. As the practitioner's heart becomes purified, greed for ragatmika service increases, and when all remaining desire are driven out, their eagerness becomes fully mature. Spontaneous means it doesn't take much time. It's immediately reciprocated without even expression of desires. That is spontaneous. One is more conscious of the reactive product, which is love of Godhead. It will be there, but the greed will make you so much mindful that you act in favor of Lord Shri Krishna's pleasure. It will be so spontaneous that it is not waiting for love to appear. It is a prerequisite, like a spontaneous activity or spontaneous response, which is the nature of love of Godhead between Radha and Krishna. This is coming to that Mahabhav type of understanding. So at what stage devotion does greed appear? Technically, greed can appear at any stage in devotional service. Bharat Maharaj, for example, acquired ecstatic devotion by his devotional practice. although in his next life he was forced by undue attachment to accept the body of a deer, his previously acquired greed immediately reappeared. Thus, greed acquired from the previous birth or by advanced association can, in exceptional cases, appear even in the formative stage of Krishna consciousness. Greed can be, also the permanent asset that can be passed on from previous birth to the next, whichever it is, but it will be invoked again and put up the person in correct position. In the body of deer, Bharat Maharaj became very much steady in devotion and let the natural life of a deer pass. So he would be regaining his status of devotee in the next birth as Jada Bharat. And therefore he was able to determine to remain completely oblivious to the objects of senses, seven except remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead throughout his life as Jada Bharat. So he shunned off everything. He would not participate in any of this, nature, even though his response to his brothers who wanted him to, do something, and if he cannot, then okay, just take care of this crops, try to get rid of all these birds which are eating away. But Bharat Maharaj did not accept as a job. Rather, he allowed even the birds to eat the grains, saying it's the wonderful creation of the Lord. And in love of Godhead, his actions were completely, unhindered for that greediness of pure devotional service. And Bharat Maharaj is very well celebrated. Then when anything that could be, but he was not able to, see any creature, including the ants, to be in trouble in love of Godhead. So, generally, however, greed appears in practicing devotees at the stage of steadiness and beyond. Prabhupada writes, we must always remember, however, that such eagerness to follow in the footsteps of the denizens of Braja, Vrindavan, is not possible unless one is freed from material contaminations. In the practice of devotional service, there is a stage called Anartha Nivrutti, in which all the material contaminations gradually disappear. Sometimes persons are found to be imitating such devotional love before they become free from anarthas and unwanted habits. This is in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 16, page number 126. As these devotees cultivate spontaneous devotional service, they rise to spiritual platform, at which time their greed becomes mature. Their mature greed then leads them to perfection. In sadhakas who continue the path of regulative devotion, who are not drawn to ragatmika bhakti, mature greed naturally appears at the stage of ecstasy. Like devotees who reach ecstasy by spontaneous practice, such sadhakas then plunge into the oceanic bliss of Braj Seva and prolific there eternally and frolic their eternity. The final point concludes this chapter on Raganuga Bhakti as established in the beginning chapters of this book. Pure faith makes a person eligible for pure devotion. However, after hearing the above deliberation on greed, readers may question how spontaneous devotion, which is an aspect of pure devotion in practice, can be attained by greed alone, not simply by faith. It is true that pure faith is the only qualification of any kind of devotion, regulative or spontaneous. However, Thakur Bhaktivinoda points out that there are two varieties of faith. One type, and this is the topic described in Bhakti Tattva Vivek, chapter number 4, page number 39, where one type of faith is derived from the reposed form and reposed in scriptural injunctions. This faith is known as Shastra Vishwas Mai Shraddha. Shastra Vishwas Mai Shraddha. And it is a qualification for regulative devotional service. The second kind of faith awakens by hearing about Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes and is saturated with greed to taste the sweetness sentiments of Brajvasis. This faith is known as Bhava Madhurya Lobhamai Shraddha. Bhava Madhurya Lobhamai Shraddha. So this nomenclature befits the characteristics. That's why they have been named. And it is the qualification of spontaneous devotional service. Therefore, the statement that greed is qualification for spontaneous devotional service does not compromise with the prerequisites of pure faith. Such a statement simply implies that certain type of faith, one imbued with greed, is the qualification of Raganukta Bhakti. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is identifying two varieties of the faith. And faith means Shraddha, but Shastra Vishwas Mai Shraddha, based on Shastra Vishwas means put total faith on the injunctions of the Shastras and cultivate your Shraddha by that. But the other kind of faith awakens by hearing about Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes and is saturated with the greed of to taste the sweetness sentiments of Brajavasis. Many devotees will try to go and associate with Brajavasis even out of Sampradaya and try to hear their kathas. And at that time, they were feeling elated. They were feeling much more what you call enthusiasm to carry on that practice of visiting, say, Ramesh Baba and other. As a greed, people will love, but that is okay. This is the kind of because they see something Bhav Madhurya Lobhamai Shraddha. Bhava Madhurya. There is an attraction of the sweetness of Brajvasi's language, Brajvasi's practice, their what you call caricature. Caricature means their movements aligned with and their sweetness in their word of Brajvasa. that is also very attractive to cultivate the faith. And many, and even our ISKCON devotees, even Radhanath Swami and myself, we were visiting Ramesh Baba just to understand. But this was something like Bhav Madhurya Lobha Mahi Shraddha is there. Because they do not speak anything of any material aspect. It is only the loving devotion that is emanating from their mouth in descriptions of the Brajaras Katha. Anyway, but the point is that it is an example. And what extent it is correct, because we are not visiting them anymore. Even though they may be good friends and our old reminiscence will be there. But when we understand that they may be having some kind of superiority complex of the powers, and we are simply our greed is based on Shastra Vishwas, that's okay, but gradually it will develop, because more we try to associate with real Brijavasis like Rupa Goswami, that when we read his rendition of two dramas, that Lalit Madhav and which is the second one?
Vidagdha Madhav Maharaj.
Vidagdha Madhav and Lalit Madhav. These two dramas are full of activities which are deeply, cultivating the powers. The powers by practice and guidance is there, but Rupa Goswami also left such literature which can be relished to cultivate, but it is during towards the maturity of our greed, we will be able to indulge into such subject matter, But to go out of our sampradaya, there will be conflict. We may be, attracted by so-called Braj Bhasha or that, but that may not be, important. What is important is that we have such advanced devotees who are Rasik Janas. Srimad Bhagavatam is for such Rasik Janas. And they were drinking every drop of the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, how can we underestimate them? And when they are guiding in the matter of greed, and after Rupa Goswami, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is also writing in such thing, then we must heed and try to stick to our own sampradaya in a very systematic way, that we will definitely get the maturity in the expression of the powers, without going out of our maryada, out of our limitations that are Shastric injunction. They are the opinion of our predecessor acharyas to stick to the sampradaya, even without protection of the sampradaya. Mantras are useless. Sampradaya vina mantrate nishphala mata. That is the real making of unbroken chain of disciplic succession. And we are receiving this Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare. It cannot be replaced in ISKCON. I gave an example of one who has replaced because he said his tongue was fluttering by chanting 16 syllable mantra, you know. So he said, okay, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva is good enough. After all, it's Krishna's mantra. An initiated devotee going out of the sampradaya, and Krishna took him away very soon, not much long enough. And I happened to cremate him. Anyway, because he didn't have any child. So that was in New York, well in the beginning. So anyway, the point is that Bhava Madhurya Lobhamai Shraddha, it may be attractive, but at the same time, we should have complete faith that it will be also the stage in our own sampradaya by our predecessor acharyas. So when Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes this Bhava Madhurya Lobhamai Shraddha, don't you think he must have experienced and he must have written it down too in his songs? So we should try to get all his books and start reading in our private sessions. They will be, of course, all right. But we should not cross. This is our standard textbook to understand the terminology, at the same time, the increments in stage-wise devotion and love that is going to be the final product of it. So we have to have that kind of intention, intensely studying, and that's what we are trying to do in this. So, So, Bhava Madhurya Lopamai Shraddha is the qualification for spontaneous devotional service. Therefore, the statement that greed is the qualification for spontaneous devotional service does not compromise with the prerequisites of pure faith. Such a statement simply implies that a certain type of faith, one imbued with greed, is the qualification of Raganuga Bhakti. To avoid the abuse of spontaneous devotion, this book regularly cautions its reader on the subject. From those warnings, readers may wrongly deduce that spontaneous devotional service is something from which to protect practicing devotees. They may think, let the devotees practice regulative devotional service and find out about spontaneous devotional service when they are liberated. This ultra-conservative attitude may appear valid to some devotee, but it is not the attitude of Vaishnava acharyas, including Srila Prabhupada. True, many people have been led off the path of pure devotion in the name of Raganuga Bhakti. That phenomenon should not be ignored or allowed to grow. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur reasons that the fault is not with the spontaneous devotion, but it is with the false teachers. False teachers. This paragraph and the next are based on Sri Chaitanya's teachings, 2nd canto, 5th chapter, 5th verse. Ignoring Raganuga Bhakti, he writes, has not made it unimportant. Indeed, he goes on to say that preventive and discouraging methods do not offer any positive cure for such abuse and have, as a matter of fact, been found to be practically useless. Huh? The descriptions of Raghunaga Bhakti are pure, but the application may be contaminated by ulterior motives of the teacher. This comment is relevant to ISKCON, practically in the light of recent unsuccessful attempts by our leadership to restrict the study of spontaneous devotion. Resolutions have done nothing to stem up and the tide of growing interest in the subject. If anything, they have done the opposite. Our Param Guru recommends intensive counter propaganda. We should present the right conception of the spontaneous devotion and thus stem the tide of immature practice. As shown in the excerpts below, Srila Prabhupada recommended this kind of honest yet careful presentation as early as 1969. There is a discussion between BTG staff in Boston, 24th December 1969. Let's read this carefully. Satsvarup Maharaj. That means that we can make reference to the gopis? Prabhupada said, oh, it is done. Gopis are boycotted. Satsvarupa. No, gopis are not boycotted. Prabhupada says, the policy should be that the people may not understand gopis like ordinary girls or like that. You should be careful to present the gopis. It does not mean that we shall not utter even the name of gopis. We have taken vow to boycott the gopis. No, they are our worshipable devotees. How can we avoid them? Satsvarupa. What about writing down kissing the lips of Krishna? Prabhupada said, no, that we should avoid. That we should avoid. But that is not abominable. According to the time and circumstances, that thing I have described, the fact is fact. Just like that, I am describing Krishna Leela. I am writing Krishna's life. So I cannot give up that portion of his life when Krishna is actually kissing the gopis in Rasa dance. Satsvarupa. But that's in the books, not in the public. Prabhupada said, yes. So in such circumstances, of course, we can give. But as far as possible, very cautiously and very rarely, we shall present. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life, we see that in public, he never discussed about Krishna Leela with the gopis. That was very confidential discussion amongst his own circle. Rai Ramananda, Swarup Damodar, like that. And he inquired, even a learned scholar, he discussed about the philosophy that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, but when there was a great devotee like Ramananda Rai, he relishes gopis. I mean to say, intimate behavior with Krishna. So we should remember this, that public may misunderstand this. Therefore, we have to present these things very cautiously and not very openly. They may misunderstand. But so far, this article is concerned, that is nicely written, that is quite in order. So this should be published. I agree. Says. There is nothing specifically objectionable. Prabhupada said, no, there is nothing. Srila Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj explains that spontaneous devotion is part and parcel of the soul and cannot be ignored. Instead, it should be understood through the teachings of Rupa Goswami by devotees surrendered to the lotus feet of their spiritual masters. It is interesting to note that opinions vary even amongst Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's followers about how devotees should hear the topic of Braja Bhakti. For example, when a senior god brother of Srila Prabhupada learned that ISKCON devotees chant Jaya Radha Madhav before Bhagavatam class, he thought it too liberal. Neither did he approve of Radha Krishna's swinging festival as it is held in every ISKCON temple. See, Follow the Angels, part 2, page 100. Who wrote Follow the Angels? Some of Prabhupada's disciple, maybe. Another Gaudiya Math sannyasi recounts that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur forbade his disciple to read Ramananda Rai's discussion with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Sridhar Maharaj.
Eh?
Sridhar Maharaj wrote Follow the Angels.
Sridhar Maharaj.
Sridhar.
So this was told directly to the author. Of course, Srila Prabhupada gave no such instruction, but in fact encouraged devotees to distribute Chaitanya Charitamrita in public, even the volumes containing that discourse. Thus, in some persons' visions, Srila Prabhupada was quite liberal in making known the process of Raganuga Bhakti. Obviously, whatever others may think, Srila Prabhupada's followers will consider his representation of Krishna consciousness, including his presentation of spontaneous devotional service, perfectly balanced in every way. So one must be honest. One cannot be dishonest by taking only a portion and not understanding simultaneously the pros and cons of the intimate relationship of Lord Shri Krishna. When Srila Prabhupada gives lecture on Radharani, yesterday I was asked a question that how should we treat Radharani? How do we do her seva? Like a mother or Krishna's wife, or I said, Radharani can be worshipped through her potency aspect. That is more preferable, and that's why we are given Hare Krishna Mahamantra, not like Nimbarka, Radha Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Shyam, Shyam Shyam, Radhe Radhe. No. We are given the Mahamantra. So we have to understand that we are potency, and we can only approach the potency of Lord Shri Krishna through the potential aspect only, not bodily aspect or the form aspect. Because our material nature, our material composition always comes as an obstacle to understand the transcendental body of the divine. We take it for granted that he was one of like us. So-called big people like Mahatma Gandhi. He said, I doubt whether Krishna was walking and talking just like a man with us 5,000 years back. So people who are less interested in cultivating the spiritual potential aspect, then they will always make mistake. They will be lured by the topics of Radha and Krishna, which are described in Srimad Bhagavatam, and they can make fancy also out of sometimes as aprakat lila. But we have to understand the transcendental nature is arising also systematically, first in the form of sound vibration. When the even body becomes transcendental, then there is another thing. We are told to cultivate greed, that is internal aspect. Greed is not by nature of our limbs aspect. To grab is called greed. No. Greed is soul's desire to think and hear the transcendental glories more and more and more and more, as if you are drawn in the same atmosphere of transcendental nature. That is the way to enter in the transcendental nature, not end up doing physically with the body such a situation. No, that is not allowed. The formation of the body itself is constituting the Purusha Tattva. And that is actually Papa Purusha. The Papa Purusha means imitating the body. Instead of having the transcendental body of Lord Krishna, which is Satchidananda Vigraha, we are imitating with our bodies, which is Asat, Achit and Nirananda, always painful. The completely opposite. How could you attempt to understand with impure bodies? I mean, that sense of reawakened in Anartha Nivrutti, if it is not done properly, and people want to falsely imitate because that power is so strong. Yeah, but the medium is not strong. It is so weak medium, that physical medium versus transcendental medium, there is a gulf of difference. So in this way, we should understand that we cannot discard Raganuga Bhakti, but it requires a understanding of what is to be practicable and what is not to be practicable. Means what is to be talked about and what is not to be talked about. Did ever Srila Prabhupada give a class on Radharani on the bodily conception aspect? He always said that she is Ladini Shakti. We can approach only through our original Swarupa Shakti, Jivere Swarupa or Nityera Krishna Das, Krishna Tatashta Shakti, Bhed Abheda Prakash. So we are also Shakti, and Shakti is female in nature, but then false Purusha is the bodily conception. That is the hindering. So naturally, liberation is required. And liberation does not give immediately the what you call the liberty to enter into Raganuga Bhakti. No. The intensified greed is required but in only liberated state. We will be thrown back into material platform if we have a wrong idea, even expressed in the literature by writing. So, but if we are restricted to write or to speak something beyond the maryada, beyond the limitation of the sanctity of the transcendental sweetness of Lord Krishna's pastimes. If it is bereft, then we have no right to explain it. We will fall victim ourselves, and that will be a big blow. We can become sahajiya. So even to make somebody understand, if they have question, we should go on the principle of Shakti Tattva of Ladini instead of Radha the personality. It can be easily misinterpreted. And people want to imitate themselves as Radharani or gopis in that sense, without following in the tutelage of the gopis. So I would like to stop here. Can you set up some nice understanding, little simplified understanding, anybody, of this warning by Srila Prabhupada? Haribol. Hello.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Shri
Jai.
Satnam Beloved Senses.
Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj, you mean that this discussion which Prabhupada has with
Yes.
Satyarup Maharaj, this
Yes.
warning?
Yes.
Okay, Guru Maharaj. Yes, I can do that, Guru Maharaj. I can put it into a document and I can send it to you for checking.
And this reminds me of also the appointment tapes on 23rd May 1977, where misinterpretation of the carry-on of the disciplic succession and Srila Prabhupada was very clear, but still it was misinterpreted into Ritwik system by overzealous persons with material motivations. And that is falling apart anyway. Anybody has any question? Who could be else other than Shivaram Maharaj to write this way?
It's good that he has the courage to. It's good that he has the courage to write
Yes.
for us.
And he writes that he was also discouraged.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Actually, there's currently a controversy going on regarding using human hairs for deities.
Yeah.
And Shivram Maharaj actually has challenged that the Ministry of Deity Worship wrote a paper that's saying that this is not right. And whereas Shivram Maharaj has wrote a paper challenging that with like proper Shastric backing, challenging that stance, saying that why, if you're saying that, then the synthetic hairs are also to a certain level, comes from all those things. So Shivram Maharaj's position, how he takes it with such a courageous stance, is like very commendable.
Yes. But still, people, devotees are violating. There was a famous, Kirtaniya. He was growing hair in Alachua, and there was in the Instagram that he was growing hair to donate for the deity's wig.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, it's the same one, I think.
Eh?
I think it's the same thing. Someone was growing hairs to donate it to Sundar for the wig.
Right.
And yeah.
They were happy. Oh, this is my service. I offer my hair. But it's muchi. It is violation of the Shastric injunctions.
Yeah, but Guru Maharaj, that's where Shivram Swami has written a paper on question, like responding to the muchi, like the muchiness of the Ministry of Deities. That if you are taking this stance, then he's given a number of points based on the Shastras and the theological ways, and challenging that. That I'm not challenging the stance of the deity of ministry, but if you are saying this, then these are the certain points which I want to put forward. So yeah, I had the read of it, so it was quite like he gave a very thorough discussion on it.
That is, pros and cons are there. Prabhupada himself never disclosed intimate pastimes. It doesn't mean the pastimes are not there. When there is ample misinterpretation is there because of material nature, and Kali Yuga is more on ignorant level. They are going to put it and as if it is in Shastra. They follow all the debauch practices by even claiming to be in a religion on the strength of religious abuse, but they don't understand. We are casting pearls in front of swine. It depends upon who explains this. People are taking unnecessarily liberty and create material sentiments instead of spiritual ecstatic symptoms.
A question on the chat, very much. Question on the chat from Jagat Anbaya and Narayan Damodar. Prabhupada said Chaitanya Charitamrita is postgraduate study, so should we study Chaitanya Lila only after graduation?
Right. So study, if you have not studied Chaitanya Charitamritam.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Jai.
Just a comment by Ananda Mahaprabhu. Ganesh Prabhu has his hand up.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Glory to Prabhupada.
Guru Maharaj, thank you so much for these classes. Now, you keep hearing this topic of the greed. Now, after this class, I was just wanted to clarify that we are now in the a level of sadhana bhakti, and sadhana is supposed to lead to a sadhya, which is our goal, and then gradually it should lead to the spontaneity. Now, the three levels of bhakti that we understand: sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti, and prema bhakti. So the spontaneity, where is that the gap where we gradually migrate to the bhava stage or even the spontaneity. Now, where does this greed actually develops? So is it there in the sadhana stage, because we are still not perfect? So
Definitely, all the progressive steps are in the sadhana bhakti. Do you think without
Mm.
greed there will be eradicated and sent to the higher stage of nishtha? There is some
so
greed.
we are talking.
If you understand the Shraddha, there are so many different levels of Shraddha also.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
But the final level of Shraddha that has to be intensified by understanding Shraddha Shabdesu Dhrada Vishwasa Karanishchay Krishna Bhakti Karile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. That is the beginning. So, from lukewarm Shraddha to a very strong, faithful, unshakable Shraddha, there are stages. How do they? So, it is the increment of greed is there, but it will be more becoming prominent after liberation. One is having, say, physical growth of the greed is there, but then in liberation, there is no physics, right?
Okay. Yes, Guru Maharaj.
But the greed is going to be intensified. So person has to be in liberated stage, increase the greed on the higher and higher topics. Even by reading, we will be able to understand that we want to keep on reading, because it will be intensifying the greed.
Yeah, okay. Yes, correct.
Right? Now, reading process, does it apply for the hearing process also? Now we continue.
Yes.
Sometimes we get attached to hearing from, now we are hearing from you and also some particular person we get attached to, and then we intensify that hearing. Is that also equated to the greed for the hearing process? And also, Guru Maharaj, in our sadhana bhakti, with practice, sometime we develop some attachment to some services. So now, is that also is it just because of our mental level of attraction, or is it because we are greedy to do the services? That's why we develop attraction. How do we take that? Sometime, we need to draw a line. Say, physical nature of greed will subside because of physical strength. But spiritual strength is completely different, isn't it?
Yes,
So
yes.
The greed can increase to intensified greed that will be bringing it the product of love of Godhead. Okay. One question is that Prabhupada
Thank you.
noted that Chaitanya Charitamrita is postgraduate study. So should we study Chaitanya Leela only after completing the Srimad Bhagavatam, or we can study them together? There is no difference between Chaitanya Leela and Srimad Bhagavatam description of Krishna Leela. But that Leela is performed on the transcendental platform of Goloka, while Chaitanya Leela is also deeply introvertly understood to be the same Leela, but in the form of Sankirtan movement. And there is no difference between the end result of reading, Krishna Leela and of Chaitanya Leela.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Very well.
Sita Raja had his hand up a minute ago. Sita Raja Prabhu.
Hari Bol, Asita Radhe Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Prabhupada.
Thank you for these wonderful nectarian classes. And yes, of course, Shivram Maharaj has done a very commendable job. Guru Maharaj, in Pune, where the congregation has got very good quality brahmacharis, youth, the grahastha devotees, when we give classes, we come across, very subtle grilling, intelligent questions. One of the things that comes across is the young devotees who are professionals from engineering colleges and all that. They are very well, they are very sincere. They read Prabhupada's books to the nth detail, and they come out with very nice questions. So in these types of, the discussions on spontaneous devotion and the high realms of bhakti, a question which is commonly asked is, Srila Prabhupada is saying that just follow 4 regulative principles and be an offenseless chanter and you go back to Godhead. So why do we need to basically discuss about all of this? In fact, this question was asked, to me, and I actually answered him like saying that, have you become an offenseless chanter? First become offenseless chanter, you follow that basic instruction of Srila Prabhupada and see then what happens. This greed and everything will spontaneously develop. But what is an answer, to this question, Guru Maharaj? That Prabhupada is simply saying follow 4 regulative principles and things will fall in place with offenseless chanting. And there is no mention about any other thing. So Prabhupada is only giving us these 2, the basic criteria to go back to Godhead. So how do we respond to them in a very short, subtle way without elaborating too much?
In the beginning, these instructions are enough.
Yes.
Unless and until we reach on the higher taste aspect, then and then that subject matter has to be disclosed.
Okay.
Okay, not before that. The important point is that Srila Prabhupada is warning. One time it happened that devotees wrote the interaction between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Vallabhacharya and Back to Godhead magazine.
Right.
And it went into the hands of Sumati Murarji and other leaders of Vallabha Sampradaya. And they were completely, discouraged. So they complained to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada chastised that why are you publishing this kind of, controversial matter? Because it hurts the feeling of others, Vaishnavas. That is not our job. So you have to discriminate what subject has to be presented and keep other things private. And they can be discussed among the peers of the privacy. Not anybody and everybody should have access of intricate internal potencies of Srimati Radharani. But these descriptions on the level of Sukadeva Goswami and others, if they are explained, then what is wrong in there? It's not for you to imitate,
Hmm.
you know.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, I got the point. Thank you so much.
There are other understandings also, but even I would not discuss that with anybody and everybody.
Hmm. So that's what I responded, and I told him, have you become an offenseless chanter? If you're following Prabhupada's 2 criteria, then let's follow those criteria first.
Yes. There are many things to be revealed. If you cannot digest all this in your plate, then why do you have to eat?
Well said, Guru Maharaj, well said. Well said, Guru Maharaj.
A fat boy takes so much in his plate, and he but he's fed in intelligence, he cannot digest, then he will eventually have to leave. It means he's not qualified to consume and digest.
Krishna. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
One next question in the chat from Vidyalasa about liberation. Is it the same as Nishta?
Liberation means come out from the bodily conception of life and establish yourself as the spiritual entity and act on that level. That is called liberating state. Don't succumb to the external factors that are going to affect your body. You have to come out from that by tolerating inconveniences. Then you will become used to it like that. So, liberation from bodily conception of life. Dehatma bhan se mukti. The Dehi is not yourself. You are separate from the Deha. Dehi no asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantar praptir derastatara namuhyati. So bodily conception is going to be continued, but mamupetya tu kaunteya dukkhalayam ashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gata. That is directly liberation. You are spiritually enlivened. Increase, become greedy, and you will be liberated automatically.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Nam. Gurudev, when we talk about liberation as devotees, when we preach, so we all tell others that we should free ourselves from the bodily conception. But when does this full realization truly come? At which stage?
Full realization. Realization is continued by becoming greedy until you are exchanging love of Godhead with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is meaning going back home, back to Godhead. For what? To love Krishna, to serve him.
Yes.
What will you do if you don't know here?
Yes, Guru Maharaj, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Anything else? Haribol? Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Gurudev ki